Welcome to Look Before You Speak. This week's program, we've come out here to Sculpture in the Wild. It's an outdoor sculpture park about 1 mile east of Lincoln, Montana. We're going to do something a little bit unusual today, is that keeping with the concept of the program, we're going to look at each of the sculptures and take some time and some longer frames in looking at each of these pieces. Remember to set your judgments aside and just look at the pieces. There's over a dozen sculptures here, outdoor sculptures. They've been completed by people from all over the world and some local artists too. So I'd encourage you to come out and enjoy this. The community has just done a great job in hosting these artists and putting these pieces of sculpture together. So let's go inside. This is a gateway sculpture that was created. It kind of indicates the feel of what you're going to see as we go in here and walk around and look at the pieces. The gateway sculptures are created by Jaakko Pernu. He's an artist from Finland. He considers himself an environmental artist, and he created the gateway sculptures to the park in 2017. As I mentioned, some of the artists are from all over the world, and this artist is from Finland. One of the centerpieces in the sculpture park is the reuse of a teepee burner, which most Montanans are very familiar with. But Kevin O'Dwyer is from Ireland, and he saw these teepee burners and was able to acquire one and reconstruct it here on site. So it's become and it has a reuse of what it is. I mean, these were essentially places where you burn scrap lumber over, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and environmentally they've kind of disappeared. And so Kevin came from Ireland and worked on this and reconstructed it, and he created an environment for us to walk into. When you walk inside of this reconstructed teepee dome, what you immediately see is this is a gathering space, a space for education, for outreach, for a community space to help support the sculpture park, Sculpture in the Wild. And what Kevin O'Dwyer has done here is reproduce historic photographs that are about the teepee burner, but about the logging and sustenance that the community relied upon for so many years. Lincoln was, this whole area in western Montana were supported many, many years through lumber, logging, and lumber mills. So this provides protection. Of course, this isn't it's open all year, able to come and go. There's no climate control in here, of course, but included this as a sculpture in its own right. And so this has been included on the walkway as we walk through. So it's almost, it's a almost found object. Found sculpture. This is a piece entitled Tree Circus. It was created in 2017 by Patrick Doherty of the United States. It's a structure that's peppered evenly with tall ponderosa pines, and he created this in a circular design to create a recognizable focal point against the backdrop. Some of the sculptures that are here is you're really invited to walk into the sculptures, through the sculptures, and experience the sculpture. So you're walking into the environments. It's just wonderful. Just wonderful. You see, these things are beautiful, but I can't figure out where the signage is for them. This piece is by Jorn Renault from Denmark, and it's entitled A Gateway of Change. And he's used old logs that have grown up here, and hasn't logged them and brought them in here, but he's used old stumps. Some of the text on the gateway itself is from Norman MacLean's book. There's kind of a walkway to a seating on one side to look through the gateway, and as you look through the gateway, there's some chainsawed housing. So I'm going to walk up the where you sit. You sit down and gaze through the gateway. There's a perspective through the gateway to the housing. Unlike the previous sculptures we've looked at, you're walking inside. This is something that you are invited to walk up and on and touch and be part of. It's really exciting. The title of the piece is Ponderosa Whirlpool. It was created by Chris Drury. He is from the UK, and what he's done here is he's charred the logs in the center section, and throughout the whirlpool, it's almost 50 feet in diameter, 46 feet it says, and he's used just logs and stones to compact this and create this significant form. And as we're looking at it, I think that's one of the things that's occurring here at the sculpture park is many of the artists have used materials that are here or local or discarded, or they have found a reuse for. And whether that's the logs or the newspapers or the teepee burner itself, it's a way of reusing and reconstructing and reinterpreting materials. And this is a little bit different in that it's not something you walk into and immerse yourself into. You can certainly walk around it, and it's a significant form. This is a piece entitled Picture Frame, and it's created by Jaakko Pernu from Finland. And of course, he's used local materials, but he's constructed this and recontextualized the materials into something very, very Western. Pretty large, pretty sizable piece. It does a couple things. It's talking about nature, using materials from nature, but it's also says something about that art can be a concept. It can be just an idea in the way we reinterpret and reuse these materials. As we sit out here, just in the time that we're here, the sun is hitting it in different ways, and the sun is going through, and it's changing the light and dark, and looks different at different times during the day. It's unlike work that's in a museum that has the exact same light on it every single day. We're getting really close. Maybe we'll come back in a little bit and see the sun raking over the surface. The sun is a little behind the frame right now, but in another 15-20 minutes it'll be really great. It's really great now, so. This work is entitled House of Sky, and it's made by Alan Conahan from Ireland. You know, it's stainless steel, and it's it's on these 4 poles that go way up. It's almost 30 feet up there. And one thing this does is the stainless steel reflects the natural environment. So instead of us walking inside of it, the natural environment changes as we walk around it. The light is changing it. So this is really a conceptual piece as well. Of course, the title House of Sky is a reference to some of the old literature in Montana that we can, the A.B. Guthrie House of Sky. And a lot of these artists are using literature as reference points. So this is an untitled work created by Casey Schachner, and she's from the United States. So, and this is a newer piece that was constructed in 2017. And again, it's a sculpture that invites us to walk through it, around it, touch it. That's one of the aspects of this outdoor sculpture park, is it's so welcoming for us to experiencing the environment and nature, experience nature. Calamity, process, evolution, change. I bet you this is fun to see in the wintertime when there's snow out here, and snow on the boards that are falling down or appearing to fall down. And you can easily walk down here underneath it. And it's blocked off, so you can't walk up there. That's great. That's smart. This is a piece entitled East-West Passage, and the materials are lodgepole pine and cobblestone. And it was created by Sam Clayton and Mark Jacobs, who are from England. And this is a piece you actually walk into and down, and quite an effort here. If you walk up on it, it just looks like there's logs laying on the ground. This design, which is kind of a jagged or zigzag shape, by using these corners, these really strong corners, they're holding back a great deal of weight, but the angles create so much strength, and it's very user-friendly. It's sloped on each end. You can walk into it. I'd say it's about 4.5, 5 feet, probably 5 feet depth at the very center as you go. But these corners make it extremely strong. Again, this is a sculpture that you walk into and experience from the inside. All the textures and color and how we look and experience nature, it changes our point of view. Our point of view is changed, and also the time of day, it changes during the day. It's not the same at any time. So Lincoln is very fortunate to have these sculptures here, and I know that they use these a great deal in their educational outreach. Stacking them together created this structure, this overlapping. It's really wonderful. And as you can see, the landscape changes in here. So it really has some scale. Really has some scale. And it also feels heavy. It feels like there's this weight, like it just could just come tumbling down on you. But again, let's take some time just to look at it. Has a real strong formal presence. And boy, I'm really enjoying the colors here. All the colors. Kind of serendipitous of what happens here. This is a piece that was created in 2015, and it's by Noellen Pepos, who is an American artist. And this is powder-coated steel material. She kind of took advantage of designing something on a more horizontal basis, kind of taking advantage of the ground and the ground cover. Let's take a closer look. You know, this stretches out probably 64 feet from the lower end, which contours over some dead, decaying wood. She kind of looked at and constructed the contour of the steel. You can see she's manipulated that. And then on the end here is a much taller piece. So, you know, the tall piece is 10 feet high. It's kind of, again, you're invited to walk in and around it, but you can see how she's taken and contoured the steel. And the steel's powder coated, so it really has a reflective surface. These surfaces are just beautiful. They've created, she has kind of landscape contour lines. Some are cut, some are just engraved and bent, and so really suggestive of the environment. As you can see today, there's snow at the base of this, which is run off of here. So I imagine this, again, like all of the sculptures in the park, they change during the year. They change during the day. So we're very fortunate to have this outdoor piece. Thanks for joining us today. I think Look Before You Speak encourages people to set their judgments aside and really look at art and take some time to look at the things that they're seeing in order to absorb what the artists are attempting to communicate. We're very fortunate here in Sculpture in the Wild here in Lincoln, where art, education, and history walk the same path. I just love that. I think it's great. It brings things together. And most of the expressions are contemporary, but even setting that aside, there are a lot of historical references that we ourselves bring to these pieces of sculpture. I hope you'll take some time to come out here and visit Sculpture in the Wild. There's over a dozen sculptures. We haven't filmed them all, But this program is going to take a lot of still images, and hopefully you'll enjoy those, and come out if you're able. The pathways, there's no steps, so they are walkable. It's a little bit of a walk through the park. There's some really great maps throughout the park, and a lot of sculpture identification. So anyway, thanks for joining us today.